They've changed our lives. From the growth of self-service retailing to the availability of global foods. From facilitating suburban sprawl to creating a greater reliance on the automobile.
If jazz was the uniquely American contribution to music, the supermarket is the uniquely American contribution to shopping. It was invented here and spread very quickly around the world.
Supermarkets are basically supersized grocery stores that are departmentalized and offer a wider selection of food, along with household merchandise and services. The traditional supermarket design occupies a large floor space on a single level and usually has the convenience of an expansive parking lot and longer, if not around-the-clock, shopping hours. Fiscally, they must bring in $2 million a year to qualify as a supermarket.
Today we have about 34,000 supermarkets. They would do $480 billion in sales. The average supermarket would be a median size of 48,000 square feet, and they would carry about 45,000 different products in that store.
A supermarket is often part of a chain that owns or controls other supermarkets located in the same town or multi-state region. This increases the opportunities to offer lower prices, made possible by volume sales on the wholesale and retail levels.
They've also had a big effect on food safety. They can't afford to have 1,000 stores go out of business because something wasn't clean or they didn't follow sanitary conditions. They really have one of the best food supplies in the world.
As shoppers travel up and down the aisles of their neighborhood store, they're for the most part unaware of the massive behind-the-scenes operations it takes to keep a steady supply of everything, from apples to Ziploc bags, streaming to each of the stores in the chain.
I always say that when you go into a supermarket, it is the tip of the iceberg.
Safeway is one of the largest food retailers in North America. It operates over 1,700 stores in the western and mid-Atlantic regions of the United States and in Western Canada. To support its stores, Safeway has invested in extensive distribution and transportation systems.
To continually resupply our stores in Canada and the United States, Safeway currently operates the 12th largest private fleet in North America, with over 1,100 tractors and 4,500 trailers. We travel approximately 85 million miles a year, deliver 475,000 truckloads of product to our retail stores every year.
Most of the fleet is outfitted with 64,000 BTU refrigeration units, capable of keeping a trailer hauling frozen products at -20 degrees. And the trucks are equipped with onboard computers.
The onboard computer tells the driver exactly where he is to go, what store he is to go to, and how many pallets of product he is to deliver at each store. The onboard computer also provides the driver with a method to track DOT hours of service, which is required currently by the Department of Transportation.
To service its truck fleet, some of Safeway's distribution centers have their own maintenance areas, fueling stations, and automated truck washes. Safeway operates 13 distribution warehouse centers in the United States and 4 in Canada. One of the company's newest centers, located in Auburn, Washington, services its stores in the northwestern United States. The sprawling 116-acre complex includes administrative offices, a recycling center, and 2 enormous warehouses. Surrounding the buildings is just over 2 million square feet of 9-inch thick concrete paving to provide a durable surface to handle the heavy truck traffic. The largest facility is the grocery warehouse. Inside are nearly 3 miles of shelving filled with product, ready for shipment.
This particular building is 518,000 square feet, holds about 44,000 pallet positions, and typically will ship in the neighborhood of around 2 million pounds a day. We typically have 2 shifts that are picking products and shipping to our stores. We deliver on a 24-hour basis, 7 days a week.
An army of forklifts load incoming pallets on the shelves and make sure the ground level has product available for those who are putting together the outgoing orders to be delivered to stores.
451.
Those responsible for order fulfillment are called pickers. The headsets the pickers wear are part of an interactive computerized system designed to make assembling an order more accurate.
451.
25.
Take 1. Cases.
The voice selection technology is a technology that has taken the place of the old paper list of the things to pick on a pallet to go to a store. It delivers the list of things via the headset to the order picker.
The computer just told me to go to slot 444 of aisle 5. So I pull up to the slot. Slot location 444. Confirmation number 44. Computer tells me to pick one item. So I pick up one item. And I tell the computer 1.
451.
The computer then tells me to go to the next location.
All the vehicles used in the warehouses are battery-powered. So it was necessary when designing the buildings to set aside space for large recharging rooms. The building that serves as the cold storage and perishable warehouse is one of the largest in the nation. The powerful refrigeration equipment keeps the different rooms at specific temperatures. The coldest is the frozen foods warehouse that is maintained at 15 degrees below zero. Produce is kept in the low 50s. Bananas are picked and shipped green and need some special handling. So Safeway built 12 banana ripening rooms in the warehouse. Each one can hold up to 1,000 40-pound boxes of bananas. By controlling the temperature and humidity in each room, Safeway can speed up or slow down the ripening process to keep pace with consumer demand.
We're essentially trapping the gases the same way you would trap the gases in a paper bag with any type of fruit and facilitate the ripening process.
This technique eliminates the need for unboxing and reboxing this easily bruised fruit, resulting in significant savings of time, space, and labor costs. Among the produce and groceries distributed to the stores of major supermarket chains are a selection of products they manufacture themselves. Safeway's bakeries get an early start to mass produce a fresh supply of bread. At the facility in Bellevue, Washington, white flour is brought in by the train carload.
Presently, we are in our bulk storage area. This tank here holds 110,000 pounds of flour. From this tank, we blow the flour into a sifter. From this sifter, the flour goes to the mixer, where we use it for making bread.
Once the flour is mixed with the other ingredients, the dough is cut into appropriate size pieces, shaped, and put into baking pans. Then it travels to the proof box, so the dough can rise.
Once the bread comes out of the proof box, we go on this conveyor into the oven where it's baked. In the oven, it can take anywhere from about 19 minutes to about 24 minutes, depending on the variety. After the bread is baked, it's cooled for 60 minutes. After the bread is cooled, now we are slicing it here. After the bread is sliced, We put it in a bag. Bag is opened with the air. After the bread is in the bag, we unclose it, as you can see, with a little quick lock. The whole bread process takes about 3 hours, and right now we are producing about 6,000 loaves an hour, and that's the bread business.
Another line of product many chains package under their own brands is dairy. At Safeway's Bellevue Milk Plant, truck after truck arrives filled with milk purchased from local dairy farms.
You're looking at a scene where we're pumping 7,000 gallons of milk into these silos behind us. These storage silos hold upwards to 60,000 gallons. We're looking at a storage capacity of 250,000 gallons of milk for the day.
Inside, the first step is to pasteurize the raw milk by raising its temperature until harmful bacteria and other unwanted organisms are killed. Then it's processed into a variety of milks, whips, and half and half. Since the plant outputs so many gallons of milk a year, Safeway decided to install an assembly line to blow mold plastic gallon jugs on site at a rate of over 2 million per month. Once they're trimmed, they travel across the building to be filled with milk.
Our plant has the fastest gallon filler in the country. It runs in speeds of 160 a minute. It'll fill a truckload of 4,200 gallons in 22 minutes.
The Bellevue plant also produces 20 million pounds of cottage cheese a year.
The process to make Lucerne cottage cheese is to fill our vats, which holds 50,000 pounds of skim milk, heat the product up, add bacteria, and separate the whey from the curd. From there, we pump the curd up to mixers, and we make our 4% all the way down to our fat-free Lucerne cottage cheese. From there, after it's mixed, it goes into the packaging, to cold storage, and out to our distribution channels.
In an adjacent building is an ice cream plant. It's one of the largest in the United States. There are 2 assembly lines to fill gallon containers, one designed to handle round cartons and the other to fill square ones. Both of the lines output 1 gallon of ice cream per second, adding up to a total of 18 million gallons per year. The facility also manufactures a variety of ice cream treats. One machine puts together ice cream sandwiches at the rate of 1,800 per hour. This assembly line produces 350 stick bars per minute. Safeway manufactures between 40 and 50 million bars per year. In addition to the items supermarket chains produce themselves and other domestic products, foods from around the world are a common part of the vast selection. Fresh produce on display in stores may have been picked on another continent. And cheeses from France are sold alongside those from a local dairy. The equipment the entire grocery industry needs to warehouse, transport, and display perishable and frozen foods accounts for about 1/3 of the total U.S. energy use for refrigeration. This gigantic enterprise had to start somewhere. And a big king and a little pig did their part to make supermarkets the nation's supreme suppliers of food.
According to the Food Marketing Institute, the supermarket industry's workforce of union and non-union personnel is almost 3.5 million strong.
Supermarkets may have played a vital role in the development of our modern suburban lifestyle. But providing an adequate food supply has been an essential element in the success of cultures throughout human history.
We can't get along without it. We can't transport without it. Napoleon says an army moves on its belly. So this has been a key ingredient to civilization and society.
Wherever major cities developed, street vendors, stores, and markets flourished to supply the urban population so far removed from the self-sufficiency of farm life. During the settlement of North America by Europeans, Trading posts were some of the first retail establishments. They made available foods that people couldn't grow or hunt themselves, including sugar and coffee, plus basic supplies like blankets. As more people settled into an area, larger retail businesses known as general stores appeared. They sold a wider variety of foods and canned goods, along with just about everything else for the home or farm. As urban populations grew, stores became more specialized, and usually neighborhoods had their own butcher shop, bakery, and grocery store. By the beginning of the 20th century, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, or A&P, had become America's first major chain of grocery stores.
Shopping in a store 100 years ago was very different than it is today. Stores were set up with clerks who did all the work. All a customer had to do was walk in the store, hand the clerk a list of items that were to be purchased. The customer's not allowed behind the counters, and the clerk would select the items for the customer.
In the early 20th century, Clarence Saunders, a grocery store owner in Memphis, Tennessee, felt that having clerks gather up each customer's order was too labor-intensive. Today, at the Pink Palace Museum in Memphis, is an exact replica of his creation that revolutionized the grocery industry. The first successful self-service grocery store. No one seems to know why he named his store Piggly Wiggly, but customers flooded in when it opened in 1916.
And there were innovations that customers would see that would really influence their shopping habits. The first is the turnstile. Once you went into the store, you couldn't get out until you finished your entire trip to the store. The second was a shopping basket. Shopping baskets allowed the customer to pick up the produce and the materials and to put them in the basket themselves. One of the most important ideas of Clarence Saunders was the use of price tags. For the first time, customers knew exactly how much their products cost. They could select the quality of the goods that they wanted to buy, put them in their basket, and go through the store and continue shopping.
Piggly Wiggly stores multiplied as other grocery store chains adopted the self-service format. But it would be more than a decade before the larger supermarket format made its debut. Today, on New York's Long Island, there are 45 stores of a family-owned chain of supermarkets named King Kullen. According to the Smithsonian Institution, these are the direct descendants of the first true supermarket that opened in 1930. It was the brainchild of Michael J. Cullen, who had first come up with the idea while working for A&P and Kroger. In a letter to his employers, he outlined the concept of a bigger store in which lower prices would be offset by a higher volume of sales.
Michael Cullen, my uncle, sent this famous letter outlining his vision of a supermarket. And of course, they didn't do anything with it. So Mike moved to New York and teamed up with a wholesaler who gave him an advance to start this first supermarket, which he did in Jamaica, Long Island, in 1930.
His timing was perfect. By 1930, most households had an automobile. Refrigerators were becoming a standard home appliance. And America was sinking deeper and deeper into the Great Depression. Lower prices were a welcome relief.
Well, Mike was a great promoter, and his two big slogans that he used, and he used them quite effectively, put them on his stores, in his ads. One was the world's greatest price wrecker, and the other is why pay more? And he pounded those home consistently.
By 1936, there were 17 King Kullen supermarkets doing approximately $6 million in business annually. Retailers who had held off on adopting the concept, thinking it might fail, finally realized that supermarkets were the future. America's entry into World War II widened the supermarket's place in the food retailing industry. During the first 3 years of the war, thousands of grocery stores, which were usually small family-run businesses, had to close their doors when the head of the household went off to join the armed services or work in the defense industry.
World War II was really a coming of age for supermarkets. Because they were chains, because they were multi-store operations, losing one or two people didn't put the chain out of business. In fact, they kind of endeared themselves to women in America by hiring them and having them working in the supermarkets during these really difficult times.
At the end of the war, supermarkets were in a perfect position to benefit from the period of unprecedented prosperity and growth that followed. In the 1950s, they became symbolic of the American way of life.
In the late 1950s, leaders from all over the world, Queen Elizabeth specifically and Nikita Khrushchev specifically, visiting America. And the thing they all wanted to see when they were here was a typical American supermarket. It was a symbol of the benefits of our economic system to the average citizen, day in and day out, week in and week out.
By the 1960s, supermarkets were responsible for more than 70% of American grocery sales. This kind of success bred intense competition. In the 1970s, many supermarket chains opened larger stores with additional non-food items in response to the increasing number of low-priced discount stores, including Walmart. Then in the 1980s, warehouse stores began to appear, proving people were willing to buy in bulk size in a more industrial-looking environment to save money. Supermarket owners converted some of their stores to this format. Supermarkets have continually restructured to keep up with changing consumer desires. In reaction to modern life's busy schedules, prepared meals departments are becoming increasingly important and being given more floor space. Many supermarkets are targeting particular groups of customers, like those interested in organic foods, or specific ethnic groups or immigrant populations. Over 30% of all new supermarkets under construction in the United States are aimed at Hispanic customers. But the evolution of supermarkets has always reflected societal change. And that evolution has always been facilitated by new technologies. When in a supermarket, we're always one step closer to the future.
When the first Piggly Wiggly opened for business on September 6, 1916, its shelves were stocked with just over 600 different items. The average checkout total was 96 cents, but a bottle of ketchup cost only 8 cents.
Owners' attempts to make customers' visits to supermarkets as accommodating and efficient as possible have led to many important innovations over the years. Some have been so successful they spread to other retail applications. Perhaps the most widely used and copied is the standardized barcode, known as the Universal Product Code, or UPC. Each product is assigned a number, which is represented by a set of lines and spaces of varying thicknesses. Scanners using a laser or digital camera are used to read the codes. Supermarkets were the first to use the system at the retail point of sale.
IBM's first systems that were able to process barcodes were the IBM 3660 supermarket system, which consisted of a controller, registers, and scanners. And these systems were first shipped in August of 1974.
The use of barcodes revolutionized both the checkout process and inventory management.
As the system checks you out, it's not only calculating your prices, but it's also writing down every item that goes out of the store. So at the end of the day, the retailer knows every item that went out so that he can reorder automatically.
The data collected serves many purposes, including analyzing store traffic patterns to better plan store staffing needs. What may be the most important shopping aid ever invented, the shopping cart, was created back in 1937 by Sylvan Goldman, a supermarket owner in Oklahoma City. He had noticed shoppers struggling with the metal shopping baskets they carried through the store. Then, a folding chair in his office gave him an idea. It could be mounted on wheels, and the seat could serve as a platform for the shopping basket. After some more tinkering on prototypes, Goldman decided to provide more storage space by having double-decker baskets. Once he manufactured his carts, he still had to convince the public to use them.
People walking into the stores would tend to say one of two things. If it was a woman, she'd say, "I've been pushing a baby carriage so long, I don't want to push another cart." If it was a man, he'd say, "Don't I look muscular enough to carry one of these little baskets around?" So Goldman actually had to hire shoppers around the front of the store to push these carts with products in them, and then a lady at the front of the store, when somebody came in, would say, "Well, hey, look, everybody's using the cart, why not you?"
It would be another 10 years before the typical shopping cart we know today appeared. A larger single basket replaced the double-decker basket. And by redesigning it so that the back end would swing, one cart could be pushed into another.
A supermarket could have hundreds of them in a very small area, not take up space that could be used to sell products, but it did more than that. It made it easier for parents to bring their children shopping. Not only that, it provided them a space to put heavier items. Not only that, it provided advertisers a place to remind consumers every second that they're in the store of their products.
Today's low-tech shopping cart is getting some high-tech additions. Where shopping cart theft is particularly frequent, some stores have invested in electronic locking wheels. The wheel locks are triggered when they pass over a wire, emitting an electronic signal that is buried just under the cement or asphalt along the store's property line. And the IBM Industries Solutions Lab in Hawthorne, New York, has been working on a wireless touchscreen computer to smarten up the carts.
When you walk into the supermarket, you take this out of the charging rack and you place it on your cart. Then what you do is you take the scanner, you scan your loyalty card so it knows who you are. I then hit start shopping and I begin my shopping trip. As I go through the store, I'm able to scan my items and bag it as I go.
The ability to scan selections and keep a running total is only one of the computer's functions. Customers can enter their shopping list via the internet, and the computer will tell them where the items are in the store. It also lets you know when your deli order is ready, and it offers recipes and personalized coupons. And because the customers scan and bag as they shop, checkout only involves payment of the already established total. Another innovation IBM has created is Veggie Vision. It takes the guesswork out of pricing fruits and vegetables by using a digital camera to capture an image of the object placed on the scale, so it can be visually compared to a database of stored imagery.
What Veggie Vision does is it has a visual recognition system that looks at the hue, the saturation, and the intensity. It's looking at the segmentation, so the lightness or darkness of that fruit or vegetable. And finally, the features, the texture, curvature, and width. It's making an analysis and recognizing that it's a tomato. So now all you have to do is print out a barcode tag and you're ready to leave the store.
As the number of self-checkout lines increases, technologies like Veggie Vision may become an important part of supermarket modernization. But there's another technology under development that could do away with checkout lines altogether.
This is the future of item tagging. This is an RFID tag, radio frequency identification tag. It consists of an antenna and a microprocessor. It essentially carries the same information and more as a barcode does today. When these tags become cost-effective and all items are tagged with RFID tags, when you go shopping, your checkout operation will be much faster. You will gather your items, pass them across a scanner, or walk through a portal, and your transaction is done.
Once RFID technology is perfected for use at checkout, it will be possible for a customer to simply leave the store. All of the tags on the items in the cart will be read, along with the customer's credit card, which will have RFID technology as well. The total will be charged directly to their account. Already in place is another technology that makes it possible never to set foot in a supermarket: the Internet. New York City, with its concentrated population, was the perfect proving ground for an Internet grocery company called Fresh Direct.
Here's how it works. The customer places their order online at the Fresh Direct website. When all the orders are done being placed today, we begin picking the produce and getting all of the other items that our customers have ordered organized in boxes in our 300,000 square foot facility. There are miles of conveyor belts, and at the end of the process, there is 130 refrigerated trucks that deliver the product into the city and into the suburbs.
Supermarkets have always relied on technological innovations. But maximizing sales also depends on employing some of the social sciences, especially psychology.
The first item barcode scanned in a supermarket checkout line was a pack of chewing gum on June 26, 1974. It is now on display in the Smithsonian Institution.
Supermarket owners give much thought to how to get people into their stores and encourage them to become loyal customers. Location is obviously a primary factor, and so is the promise of low prices. There are two basic pricing strategies supermarkets typically use to convince customers they're getting the most out of their food dollar.
One they call everyday low pricing, EDLP. EDLP is really a model that says, let's try and find what the lowest possible price is. Let's sell it that way all the time. The other is called high-low. High-low is where they really try and put some products on promotion that are just incredible values. And they use these to bring customers in who buy the full basket of products, which include products at their regular levels.
Beyond pricing strategies, supermarket owners have done a great deal of analysis in determining how the layout of the store impacts sales. First impressions are important, and stores want to appear clean and filled with fresh foods. So owners often place produce sections at the entrance of their supermarkets. Many stores have installed tungsten rather than fluorescent lights over the produce department because it helps make the fruits and vegetables look brighter and more colorful. Almost all supermarkets place the frozen foods in the aisles nearest the checkout to minimize thawing. But there are several reasons why most supermarkets have the perishables around the perimeter and the dry goods and household items on the shelves in the center of the store.
Refrigerated cases need to be where they can get to the equipment that runs those cases, the dairy case or the frozen cases or the meat cutting room. So part of it's practical.
But this arrangement is also how shoppers prefer it. In 1964, Department of Agriculture studies found that if the perishable items were placed in the center aisles instead of around the periphery of the store, there was a decline in the number of items purchased. One reason why commonly purchased products like milk are placed in the back of the store has to do with marketing strategies to maximize sales.
The idea that a supermarket would have in strategically thinking about what its layout is to make sure that the consumer sees as much of the product as possible. And so there's a couple things that you would want to put far away from the door. And milk is usually the example given.
There are many marketing strategies that dictate exactly where products are placed on store shelves.
There have been a lot of studies done on shelf placement, and it is obvious that eye level, at female eye level, I think is about 54 inches or something like that, and male eye level is a little higher, is the premium place. So vertical placement on the shelf makes a huge difference. And marketers who are marketing to children, because children can be very influential decision makers in the supermarket, will tend to put items that might appeal to children, sugared cereals, candy, at the kind of level that a kid might see.
It certainly makes sense that you put the best products at eye level. The most famous brands want to be at eye level, but there's a better spot. The better spot is right at the end of the aisle. In the industry, we call them end caps. As they say, pile it high and watch it fly.
One of the things that they know is that you're going to spend some time at the checkout counter and looking at items, to entertain yourself while you're sitting there waiting. And so they tend to put impulse type items right at the checkout counter.
Supermarkets also pay a great deal of attention to atmospherics, the things that affect customers' visual, auditory, and even olfactory sensations.
We're seeing all the major supermarkets with fresh bakeries, and it has two advantages. Number one is it's an opportunity to sell product. Number two, it's an opportunity to send that bakery aroma throughout the store. And so when people walk in saying, I'm not that hungry, they get in the front door and they say, I am hungry, which translates into, what can I buy now?
The evidence on music shows that soothing music, slow tempo music, makes people stay in the supermarket longer, and that makes a difference. Softer lighting will make people stay in the supermarket longer. Harsh lighting tends to make people just want to rush and get out of there. There's also uses of colors. There's a general sense that blues, for example, are more pleasant, and people like to stay around and will perhaps buy more in a blue environment.
So while the usual goal is to establish a calming environment, in New York and Connecticut, Stu Leonard stores have their own unusual environment. The audio animatronics, costumed characters, and general ambience of a county fair have made these stores a favorite family destination. The mix of good food and theme park-style fun is paying off. There are only 3 Stu Leonard stores so far, but with revenues hitting $300 million a year, expansion is in the works. Standing out from other stores has become very important in this highly competitive business. And there is one chain that has become hugely successful by standing out because of the unique foods it carries, natural and organic.
Over 3/4 of Americans use coupons to save about $3 billion annually.
With a growing percentage of the public interested in eating healthier, more and more supermarkets are carrying natural foods. But one large and successful chain has built its reputation on it: Whole Foods. You'll even find a store in the pricey real estate of Manhattan's Columbus Circle. Whole Foods, now a Fortune 500 company, has worked hard to transform a trip to the supermarket into a favorite destination. While offering food and other products its customers feel good about purchasing.
When you walk through the door, it is like a filter, that nothing in our store has artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives.
Whole Foods began in Austin, Texas, back in 1980, when health food was still considered counterculture.
The history of Whole Foods Market, interestingly enough, was the merging of 3 small hippie health food stores into one big hippie supermarket owned by John Mackey, Craig Weller, and Mark Skiles. John's vision from that day and why he was in the business really still permeates the company today. As CEO, he's mission-driven like he was in the very first store.
Just a few blocks from where the original Whole Foods Market opened more than a quarter century ago are the company's corporate headquarters. At the base of the office building is the chain's biggest store. 80,000 square feet of specially selected foods, presented in an upbeat, state-of-the-art shopping environment. Their proactive approach to marketing often begins even before entering the store.
I'm roasting Hatch chilies from Hatch, New Mexico. And the smell of these roasting peppers is going to waft in through the store, down that escalator, through the parking lot. And people are going to come across here and say, what is that smell? That opens the door for me to offer them opportunities to taste new things that they never had before.
Thank you.
And of course, we do a lot of tasting in the store.
Whole Foods has staked its reputation on their commitment to quality natural products. While the higher costs have led to the nickname Whole Paycheck, the company feels their customer loyalty is built on the philosophy behind their motto: Whole Foods, Whole People, Whole Planet.
Organic is simply a sustainable farming method that leaves the land as it was. It doesn't take away from the land that it was grown in, and because of that, the land will be vital for the next 20, 50, 100 years and beyond.
Whole Foods believes that being concerned about the food supply doesn't have to result in a dreary diet. A vast selection of wine, a super chilled room filled with domestic and imported beers, exotic cheeses, and tantalizing desserts are just a few ways to overindulge in this foodie's paradise.
Here we have our chocolate fountain here at Whole Foods Market. It has about 30 pounds of chocolate in it that circulates through it the entire day. And I'm going to dip for you some triple cream brie. We'll dip anything from strawberries, potato chips, Hatch chilies to cheese. Just about anything the customer wants.
Whole Foods augments the customer service in its flagship store with a variety of technologies. There are digital billboards across the front of the store, delivering store and community event information. Computer stations and multiple touchscreens throughout the store offer price checks, product information, recipes, and store maps. All of these, along with the refrigeration and lighting, gobble up power. But Whole Foods has found a way to maintain its eco-friendly values.
We buy energy efficient lighting for the most part, and we have controls on our lighting system that bring our lights up and down at this store depending on the sunlight that's outside to help control energy costs in the store. And also, Whole Foods Market is the #1 purchaser of wind energy in the country, corporate purchaser of wind energy. So we're very proud of that.
Whole Foods, like other supermarket chains, has risked billions betting on the right formula in this highly competitive business. But oddly, customers have also been rediscovering the simplest and oldest style of shopping for food: the street market. According to the Department of Agriculture, there are currently around 4,800 farmers markets operating in the United States.
It's interesting to think that the things that were time-consuming and a chore and nobody wanted to do in the 30s, now we've evolved to the point where they're kind of fun and maybe a little bit of luxury, and we will spend some time in these kinds of markets.
But of course, there's more to modern life than fresh produce. So when it comes time to stock up on everything else, from canned goods to kitty litter, not to mention paper towels, soft drinks, and light bulbs, the odds are you'll head back to the place where you know you'll find a never-ending supply: your neighborhood supermarket.
In the middle of the ocean, 102 cold, wet, and hungry souls cling to life. They share one dim hope: that they complete their journey to an unknown land called America. Desperate Crossing, the untold story of the Mayflower. Sunday night at 8 p.m., as only the History Channel can bring you.
Today we have about 34,000 supermarkets. They would do $480 billion in sales. The average supermarket would be a median size of 48,000 square feet, and they would carry about 45,000 different products in that store.
A supermarket is often part of a chain that owns or controls other supermarkets located in the same town or multi-state region. This increases the opportunities to offer lower prices, made possible by volume sales on the wholesale and retail levels.
They've also had a big effect on food safety. They can't afford to have 1,000 stores go out of business because something wasn't clean or they didn't follow sanitary conditions. They really have one of the best food supplies in the world.
As shoppers travel up and down the aisles of their neighborhood store, they're for the most part unaware of the massive behind-the-scenes operations it takes to keep a steady supply of everything, from apples to minus 20 degrees. And the trucks are equipped with onboard computers.
The onboard computer tells the driver exactly where he is to go, what store he is to go to, and how many pallets of product he is to deliver at each store. The onboard computer also provides the driver with a method to track DOT hours of service, which is required currently by the Department of Transportation.
To service its truck fleet, some of Safeway's distribution centers have their own maintenance areas, fueling stations, and automated truck washes. Safeway operates 13 distribution warehouse centers in the United States and 4 in Canada. One of the company's newest centers, located in Auburn, Washington, services its stores in the northwestern United States. The sprawling 116-acre complex includes administrative offices, Ziploc bags, streaming to each of the stores in the chain.
I always say that when you go into a supermarket, it is the tip of the iceberg.
Safeway is one of the largest food retailers in North America. It operates over 1,700 stores in the western and mid-Atlantic regions of the United States and in Western Canada. To support its stores, Safeway has invested in extensive distribution and transportation systems.
To continually resupply our stores in Canada and the United States, Safeway currently operates the 12th largest private fleet in North America, with over 1,100 tractors and 4,500 trailers. We travel approximately 85 million miles a year, deliver 475,000 truckloads of product to our retail stores every year.
Most of the fleet is outfitted with 64,000 BTU refrigeration units, capable of keeping a trailer hauling frozen products at They've changed our lives. From the growth of self-service retailing to the availability of global foods. From facilitating suburban sprawl to creating a greater reliance on the automobile.
If jazz was the uniquely American contribution to music, the supermarket is the uniquely American contribution to shopping. It was invented here and spread very quickly around the world.
Supermarkets are basically super-sized grocery stores that are departmentalized and offer a wider selection of food, along with household merchandise and services. The traditional supermarket design occupies a large floor space on a single level and usually has the convenience of an expansive parking lot and longer, if not around-the-clock, shopping hours. Fiscally, they must bring in $2 million a year to qualify as a supermarket. A recycling center. And 2 enormous warehouses. Surrounding the buildings is just over 2 million square feet of 9-inch thick concrete paving to provide a durable surface to handle the heavy truck traffic. The largest facility is the grocery warehouse. Inside are nearly 3 miles of shelving filled with product ready for shipment.
This particular building is 518,000 square feet, holds about 44,000 pallet positions, and typically will ship in the neighborhood of around 2 million pounds a day. We typically have 2 shifts that are picking products and shipping to our stores. We deliver on a 24-hour basis, 7 days a week.
An army of forklifts load incoming pallets on the shelves and make sure the ground level has product available for those who are putting together the